So next fireside chat is with Garima Thockchom. She's CEO of Talligent. Actually, her company just won a TiE 50 award yesterday, I believe. And she's going to be talking with Shaherose Charania. She runs Women 2.0. Women 2.0 has taken a lot of visibility in the last few years. They put out a conference in February that's always very popular in San Francisco. And maybe some of you have already attended that. So I'd like to welcome Shaherose and Garima on stage to get this fireside chat started. Thank you.
Sweet.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're going to have a very interesting fireside chat. Thank you for being here, Shaherose.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's jump right in because we have only 15 minutes and I know you have a lot to share, which I'm eagerly waiting to hear. Imagine you have before you a bunch of women entrepreneurs. And it doesn't matter what age they are, but imagine they are starting out in their entrepreneurial journey. What are some of the top few trends that you would point them to, given your extensive background in building a lot of this infrastructure for women?
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't have to imagine that there are any. I have to see them every day. That's my job. So as the co-founder of Women 2.0, we are a platform for women entrepreneurs who are just getting started, women who have started, and women who have exited. So I see this on a day in and day out basis. I'm excited to share some of the resources we offer the people in our community. So I think to begin with, I sort of stop and pause and tell an entrepreneur, this is going to be an overwhelming journey. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of ideas. And so to get started, the best thing you're going to do is actually hone in and focus on 3 areas that are going to help you get started. And so I bucket them into people, into processes, and to information. And with those 3 buckets, you can probably walk through your entrepreneurial journey without getting too caught up in the noise that there is, because there's always an event happening, there's always somebody to meet, and there's always a new trend happening in whatever industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when we talk about the phases I wanted to walk through, then I could sort of mention each people, processes, and information that I would recommend. The phases go a little bit like this. So first is to find your team, right? So that's sort of the look for my founders. The second phase is then to actually do idea validation and idea testing. Now that I have a team, what am I going to work on? And then from there, the phase 3 is to actually build a product and work in a lot of iterations and designs and actually put something out into the market. And then from there, it's sort of the funding and the growth. So when we talk about phase 1, which is to find your co-founders, so some of the things that we have access to, one would be things like this. Large networking conferences are great, a little overwhelming, but useful to meet a broad set of people. If you're looking to hone in and find your actual co-founder, first start with your friends.
Absolutely.
People don't realize this, but someone you know very well.
Have chemistry with, have worked with.
Right. Because there's a few things that are really important in a co-founding relationship. One is that there's absolute honesty and trust. The second is that you both have, or all 3 of you, however many you are, have similar goals and timelines, that you are interested in building a company that scales to X million or X billion, or that you have an interest in being in mobile, or that you actually have goals to do something in exactly 1 or 2 years. So that tactical and aspirational piece needs to align. And then there needs to be work chemistry. You need to have complementary skills. Too often, I meet founders who are too similar. And too similar founders leads to a lot of problems because you don't know who's doing what, the tasks that need to get done don't get done because neither of you have the skills. So events like founder dating, events like the ones that Women 2.0 hosts, which is Founder Friday, those ones are very specific and targeted at people who are at the specific stage in their life where they want to start something. I would even put Founder Institute into the same bucket.
Okay. So Founder Institute, Founder Dating, Founder Friday.
Yeah, anything that starts with founder, basically.
Right. And where do you host Founder Friday?
Founder Friday is actually in Palo Alto and in San Francisco.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So just make a note of that.
Yeah, and if you're anywhere else in the world, we're in 19 cities around the world, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah, so anywhere in the US, we're in Latin America, we're in London. I think there's people probably here from London, and one city in Canada, Vancouver. So that's an idea. Founder dating is all over the US as well, and that one's really great because they actually take in your information, analyze who you are, and help you find someone based on your, like what I mentioned, skills, goals, interests. And then Founder Institute is something that's more education-based, but a great network of people that you could meet because they're all sort of, again, in the same time and place. So a lot of the first phase around people, the founder people, is about timing, finding the right person at the right time. And so the second phase is about idea validation. What tools should I use when I'm validating my idea? One thing would be the fire hose of information on blogs. Don't do that. Get overwhelmed. Find your focus. If you're focused on things that are around mobile and shopping, set up an RSS feed only for that and cut all the other noise out. From time to time, you can step up and read aspirational pieces. But if you don't do that, you'll just get overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there. And around the people piece, at this stage, I would say build your personal board of advisors. And that's along with your startup advisors, but your personal board of advisors are people that are invested in you, not your business. It's very distinct. It's something that I created over the last couple of years, and these are people who are my equals and people who are ahead of me. So people I've worked with in the past, basically my mentors. And you engage with them in two different levels. You engage with them, one, on a sort of emergency basis. Oh my God, I'm thinking about this. I need some feedback, or I'm going through this problem. Can you give me some of your insights? And then you can engage with others on a sort of structured basis, meaning once a month.
So I just wanted to reiterate that because I find that really insightful. So when I do my startup, I have my advisors, and they're mainly professional, and a lot of them I also know as friends, so I do lean on them for personal advice too. But this is very insightful that Shaherose is recommending that we have personal advisors who are invested in us as human beings needing to grow, and professional advisors who are invested in the company and the idea and help the company along.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
it's a really distinct difference. People don't realize that, but it's one of the biggest things that all the co-founders should have their own set of people that they run to, and then as a whole you can have your startup advisors and whatnot. So that's sort of in the beginning phases when you're just getting started. Keep your personal board of advisors throughout the lifetime of your journey as an entrepreneur, not just in your first company or your second company. And so that's in the sort of the idea generation and idea building phase. I would recommend those particular things. As you're starting to build your company and you have your first prototype in sort of the phase 3, some of the processes come into place. So this is where I see a lot of founders struggle. They're like, okay, we're focused on building a mobile shopping app for whatever, and they just get stuck. So this point in your life of your startup, you need to overmanage your life. So set up as many tools that make sense for you, set deadlines that can be changed, do as many sort of group brainstorming activities as you can, but you need to realize you're the only one in charge of the goals. You're the only one in charge of when you're going to do press. You're the only one in charge of when you're going to actually launch your product. And so the more you don't do that, the more I see people spin their wheels and they never launch a product. So, I use specific tools. I use Asana, for example. It's just a great web tool and a great mobile app for managing tasks. But it allows me to see the bigger picture of things we're going to do in a year from now, but also what I'm going to do tomorrow. And when you're in a job, somebody tells you what to do. In this case, you need to tell yourself what to do and then have tools to help you manage it. So that's, I think, really important. I think the other thing is, when I say overmanage, also overmanage the rest of your life. So if you are in the building phase, for the most part, you should be heads down. And you should not be going to a million networking events. But what you should do is go up and meet certain people at certain events, but limit it. Do it once a week or once every other week and put it in your calendar. And if you haven't done it, then make sure you do it. But again, it's about you putting things in your own life to make them happen, because these networking events are places where you'll meet customers to give you feedback on your product. You'll meet investors that you're going to go to eventually. You're going to meet people that you eventually want to hire. So going to these networking events that are ideally focused on your sort of industry focus is extremely important, but don't overdo it. right? So remember that in the building phase, you should be building more than you should be meeting people. And if you're meeting people, they should be your customers. So that was, wanted to like make sure.
I think that was really insightful too. So when you're building a product, when you're in the building phase, heads down, focused, don't be distracted by networking events. And when you're done with the building, then go out and network, talk to your customers and potential employees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I find that people don't, know when to do that. And you just need to recognize what phase you're in. You've got your team, you've got a potential set of ideas. Okay, I'm done now. Let's go. Let's go into the hole. So from there, when you're ready to sort of talk to other people, the sort of need for funding will come up. And there's a lot of different ideas of how to go about getting funding. There's pitch events. There's all these things. And the way I sort of give guidance to the startups that I advise is to build relationships on an individual basis with angel investors, seed investors, and VCs, even if you're not looking for those at the moment. Because people invest in people. They want to get to know you. They want to trust you with their money. You have to realize they're giving you money to do something with that money. They want you to make the money they gave you more money than what they gave you. So they need to get to know you. They're not going to fund you the first time, and be okay with that. So networking events are good for practicing your pitch. Don't always expect that you'll get a deep relationship. You'll get the first card, but your job is to now follow up with the meeting. And so those networking events are good for that. I would say the most powerful tool that we've seen through the startups we've been advising is AngelList.
Say that again?
AngelList.
AngelList. Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure many people are familiar with it, but it's a great place where angel and seed investors are literally sitting there waiting to see what's next.
Okay.
And so you put up your personal and company profile, and it's a great way to just access investors that you wouldn't normally get access to. And it's also a great place to sort of learn about the investor before you meet them. You see what investments they've done in the past, see if they're aligned with what you're interested in and what you're building, and it's just a phenomenal resource. So we've had companies that put up their profile on AngelList, and within like 10 days they have money in the bank.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a great plug. And you've used them,
Yeah,
I gather?
absolutely.
Okay. And are these resources that you have seen work particularly well for women, or is it in general?
It's in general. So there are tools that are specific to women. There's investment groups like Golden Seeds and a couple others, Springboard and Astia. Those are 3 women-specific places that will help you get money. Absolutely go to those, but don't just play in that industry, because there's so much more money out there, right? And being a woman is an advantage. When you're on a place like AngelList, or you're on the stage of a tech startup event, people will notice you. So take that to your advantage. I would say both tools are equally awesome for what you need to do in terms of raising money, but don't focus in on just the women, because you're cutting yourself out from so much opportunity. What I've noticed as a trend in the women's space, though, is there's a lot of women that are building really interesting hardware software plays. So an example is BS Sport. It's basically like the Fitbit, but for women. There's a thing like Lark, which tracks your sleep. There's a couple others that are this really interesting hardware software play, and they're getting their money from Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Their first, $100,000. There's another company out of Mexico with a female founder, and she's building wearable technologies. I actually bought her jacket in advance. I put on the hood, and I can hear the music in my ears, and nobody else can, and I can go jogging.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So this is a whole new wave of innovation happening that's, hardware, software integration, a lot of wearables that just are blowing people's minds. And the investors, the traditional Silicon Valley investors, are focused on software. So we're finding that for whatever reason, there's a lot of women involved in this, and it's working to get their first 100,000 to build their first prototype through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So I would entirely encourage that if you're going down that route. It doesn't necessarily work well for software.
Okay, so I think you walked us through starting the company, finding a founder, building the product, marketing the product, then going off and getting investments. And what was really cool was you actually laid out and named certain tools and resources that will help out. So I hope people took notes. Now, I have to say, being a woman in high tech is a rare thing, you know, and I went through many years and I learned to be gender blind in some sense. So I literally would be in meetings where I'd be the only woman and I would never notice it because I was just connecting at an intellectual level. But then when I tried to go network among women, one of the things that honestly turned me off a little bit was the level of complaining and the feeling of being left out. And I found it extraordinarily refreshing when I spoke to you on the phone. And it seemed like negativity, there was no negative word in your vocabulary the way you were talking. So what I want to understand is your mindset. I mean, you seem to be driven by a mission. You don't seem to be even aware of limitations. You just came out of Canada, landed here and found your way, and now you're leading the charge in some sense. So in your view, how big a role does mindset play in a woman's growth as an entrepreneur?
A huge part. So mindset is the only thing you have. Storytelling helps you set your mindset, and people around you help you set your mindset. So what does that mean? You know, when I came here, I chose to sort of push forward and do whatever I could as a sort of, because this was a limited opportunity. I didn't know how long I could stay here. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I live only once. So that was my mindset of like, do what I can as fast as I can, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive. And so I think that when you think about putting your mindset in a positive place, you have to like consciously do it and be ready for the fact that you will be overhauled and you will be pushed down, and you know, and don't let that stop you. And I think I got that mindset from my guy friends. So when I was in high school and college, I always had guy friends that were like 1 or 2 years older than me. And I don't know, I saw them running, failing, but still running.
Yeah, they soldier on. And
yeah, and I've always I really held that close to my heart. And I thought, yeah, why not? Why can't I do that? So it was just being, you know, being a little bit just, you know, okay with falling over. I think sometimes it's not just women. People are masculine and feminine.
Absolutely,
okay?
everybody
so
is.
If you maintain more of your masculine traits, which are more emotional than logical, then of course this is going to hurt you, and it'll be hard to get up, right? So it wasn't that I was going to be a man. It was that I was going to like incorporate more masculine traits into my life, I suppose, and kind of go from there. And so when I mentioned the other part is people is, don't just surround yourself with the same gender, right? Just surround yourself with men and women, and surround yourself
be gender
with,
blind, in other words.
Yeah, and age blind. You know, I have people that are, this guy I just met, he's 19 years old, and he just knows what he's doing. And he inspires me. So, you know, keeping older and younger people around you is super important.
Thank you so much, Shaherose. This was very inspiring to see a young woman such as yourself leading the charge. And we'll take you over to the media lounge. If anybody wants to talk to her, she'll be there. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.